Alright, in this video I'm going to go over the information or sort of the answer to the superhero programming deal. Hopefully you've had a chance to try it. The purpose of this video is just to kind of give you tips if you're stuck. So if you are stuck, just kind of watch the parts that are relevant. You can skip around in the video to find the information that you need. And then once you're unstuck, I'd encourage you to go back to programming and try to do much of it as you can on your own and only use this in the moments when you're really unsure of what to do. Okay. So I'm going to use the directions right here, these PDF directions, and kind of just follow them step by step. So basically, we're going to need two files. One, the class file that defines what is in the superhero, and then also the superhero runner, or like the creating heroes, where you actually create the instances, the objects of the superhero class. Okay, so I'm going to start here with the superhero.java. All right, and so I'm going to make actually. I think I made a new little package. See if I can find it here. I made one called Superhero Project because the two files have to be right next to each other. So I just make them in their own package inside of my Chapter 8 programs here. Okay, and then I'm going to do a new class once I got the package set up and call it Superhero. Alright, and then please note that one of the things that's different is we don't really have a main here. This is just defining like a blueprint for what data and methods we're going to have for our superhero. And then we're going to make main in the other file, and that's going to actually create the superheroes that'll access this code. Okay, and normally when I'm creating them, I start with the data called like the instance variable. So like what information do we want to track on a superhero? And there could be a lot of things here. We could do their like attack power, their defense power, the name of their weapons, a list of any superpowers that they have, nicknames, all those type of things could go here, right? But we are just going to do three things: their name, their superpower, and then their age. Okay, so we have to create what's called instance variables, and we're not going to give them any values like Batman or flying yet. We just want to define what's going to be in our superhero. This is just a blueprint, not the actual data for a specific hero. This is the class. Okay, so I'm going to do my instance variables here. Okay, and normally you do make them private. So I'm going to do a private string that is the name. Right, so the name variable is just a string text, and we make it private. Usually the instance variables are private, and then you access them through the public methods. All right, so I'm going to do another string for the superpower. And you can call it whatever you want, power or superpower. Maybe I'll call it superpower. Okay, and then I'm going to do one more for, what is the last one? Their age. I'm going to do private int age. Okay, and please note that I'm not setting their values here, right? That's going to happen in the constructors. Okay, and they're going to set the value of the instance variables. Okay, and so the constructors, I think that's next. So we have to do two of them. A default one that just sets age to 0, name to none, and superpower to undefined. And then a second constructor that takes in those values and sets the instance variables. Alright, so I'll do the default one first. And I'm just going to type public, and then it has to match the name of the class. So any constructor always looks like that. It goes public, and then the name of the class. Okay, so it's kind of like a method that always returns a superhero object. So I don't even have to put a return type here because it always returns superhero object. And I'm just going to set these. So in the default one, you don't pass in anything. There's nothing coming in, and you just set them. Name is going to be none, I believe. Superpower is undefined. Okay, and then the age is going to be 0. Okay, and so then I'm going to contrast this with the other constructor. So it's going to start the same way, public superhero. Right, but instead of having nothing coming in, I'm going to pass all these in. So I'm going to do like a string for the name, and I'm not going to call it name because there's already a variable named name inside this scope, right? Because it's outside of any methods, it's accessible anywhere in this class. So I'm going to name this one something slightly different, right? And then I'm just going to set it. I'm going to set the name variable, this one, the instance variable, to be whatever came in, right? So the value that's passed into this little constructor. Okay, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing for superpower and age. So I'm going to have a string called power in or whatever, and I'm going to have an int called age in. And you can really name them whatever you want, right? But the whole point is I'm going to set the variables to those things. So superpower variable, instance variable, is going to be whatever came in. All right, and then this age variable, so I'm trying to get all to display on one screen here. The age variable is going to be the age that came in. And that's it for the constructor. So again, the constructors set these three variables. This one is default values. Here's values that came in. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my directions here. All right, and now I have to do get and set methods for each variable. Okay, so these are going to be pretty redundant, right? So I'm not going to actually do all of them in this video. I'm going to bank on you being able to get at least some of them on your own. So take like name, for example, as a string. So I want to have one that's called like get name and one that's called set name. Okay, and so get name just returns this variable. Because the variable is private, we'll give them access through a method. So I'm going to do public string get name because it's going to return that name variable. Okay, and all the method's going to do is I'm just going to return name. Right? It just returns that name variable. That's it. Okay. And then the set one is going to be a void. So I'm going to do public void set name. And then I'm going to pass in the new name. Right? So all it's going to do is take the name variable, the name instance variable, right? Way up here again. And it's going to set it to be whatever new name they want. So whatever name they got passed in. So that'll allow them to set the name. Okay? And so these are going to look super similar for superpower and age. Just slightly different, right? And obviously give them different names. Right? So I'm going to not show that in this video and hope that you can do that on your own. Okay. So next up, final thing in here is they are going to have us do, sorry, I'm trying to find the directions. They want to do a toString method. And that just is if you ever want to turn a superhero object into a string, then basically that's what toString does. Okay, and so this is a specific method that has to be called public and then toString. Sorry, it has to be public string toString. And you can return whatever type of string you want. So like you could just return their name or their superpower, right? Or whatever you want to do. It's just got to return a string. So I'm going to do public string toString. So if I want to turn this object into a string, what should that string be? Okay, and usually that string will consist something to do with these instance variables. Okay, so I'm just going to say I'm going to return a string that is my name is plus their name. My power is, this is pretty boring to be honest. But I'm just going to access then those instance variables. Okay, and again, I have access to these variables because they're global variables. Right, and I don't want to print it here, I want to return the string. So my name is plus the name, whatever that is, and their power is plus whatever that superpower, whatever is stored in that superpower variable. Okay, and that will make the toString method for this class. Okay, and that should be it for the end of the class. Obviously, you have to add the other get and set methods, but that's it for that. And I'll make another video going over the runner class, the creating heroes class. That was the other part. So there's kind of like a part B here where you have to create the heroes. I'll make a second video for that one.